Oh, we are live. Hello and welcome to the United Stand. We are live this Christmas Eve for a few minutes with you. Mrs. Claus is having a bad... Well, no, Santa Claus. I'm not Santa Claus, and neither's my wife, Mrs. Santa Claus, but she's having a quick soak, so I thought I'd just go live, and we want to talk about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I keep getting his bloody name wrong. I don't know why. And Lukaku potentially being sold by Manchester United. We'll also be having a little chat about a certain video that has gone out tonight, which is the United Stand versus Arsenal Fan TV. 2 months after the game was played, I've finally seen the footage for the first time. It's a pinned link in the video description. It's the first comment, and that will take you exactly to where you need to be to watch the major incident in that. But we'll talk about that in a bit, because the most important thing is Manchester United. We are a Manchester United fan channel, and I want to talk about Manchester United and the prospect of Romelu Lukaku leaving Manchester United. Now, this may be the music to some people's ears. It's coming in. Now, what I would say about this news is that I saw it on the ITV website, which, it's a well-known station in the UK. Their credibility around football probably isn't there as the BBC's is, but it was interesting to read that Lukaku potentially being involved in a deal with Juventus and Mandzukic. It's flawed on many levels, but what appeals to me in relation to the credibility of the story is that it's been going on for quite a while now, and Lukaku himself has linked himself with the move to Italy. I think one of the international breaks this season, he said, I'd like to play in Italy in the future, and he keeps being continually linked to Italy. Now, I don't know what the situation with his agent is anymore. I thought he'd got rid of Mino Raiola, but I don't know whether that's the case. But Mino Raiola has obviously got a lot of good connections in Italy. So, look, Lukaku, would Solskjaer sell Lukaku in his 6 months here? I don't actually think there's any legs in that story. Will Lukaku be sold in the summer? Potentially. Andrew Staunton says happy Christmas to you all as well. I hope you're having a good time, and I hope that you get everything that you want, although that's a little bit, what do they call it, materialistic? Yeah, but we're a bit materialistic at Manchester United anyway, aren't we? Because we want players to come in and we want players to go. With regards to Romelu Lukaku and whether he leaves Manchester United, I think that the fact with me is that I just do not see where he fits in our team. I think if you're talking about the line and the sort of football that we want to play, fast, pressing, intense football, you've got people like Rashford, Lingard, Rashford, Lingard, Martial, Sanchez can do that. They're not necessarily speed merchants, but their football brain is quick, and they will press and they will go after the ball. Lukaku's football brain isn't that fast. It's a bit like Fellaini's. It's a bit, like I think Matic has got a fast football brain, but I don't think his body's that fast. I think Lukaku's potentially quite fast, but I don't think his football brain in the same way that a Rashford or a Martial is quite there. And I think if United want to play a certain... I suppose the best way I could explain it is if you were offering Lukaku to Pep Guardiola or to Jurgen Klopp, I think they'd politely, because they're polite managers, I think they'd politely decline, because they'd be like, right, at Man City, I'm Pep Guardiola. Do I really want Lukaku in front of people like Sane and David Silva and Sterling? The quick players who want to give and go. I don't think he can get the best out of Lukaku. And the same at Liverpool. Do they want Lukaku as the figurehead with people like Mane and Salah around him who are looking for quick ball? I think they could find a use for him, but I don't think they would want him as their number 9. And I think that's the world that Manchester United are hopefully moving into. And I think Lukaku becomes redundant. And also, at the moment, I think Marcus Rashford has to be our number 9. So where this would go for Manchester United is, I think it's interesting. I don't think Lukaku's going to go anytime soon. But I don't want a situation to develop at Manchester United where we've got Romelu Lukaku in our team because we've got to justify the fact that we pay him big wages and we paid a big fee for him. For me, he isn't good enough for Manchester United's first team at the moment. I think we've got Romelu Lukaku for that. We've got Marcus Rashford. I've had a bit too much Krabbies this afternoon. I've been on the beer a little bit, but no, I don't see where he fits into what Manchester United are all about, to be honest with you. And I think that Manchester United obviously need to be playing a quicker brand of football. And I think that with Rashford, with Lingard and Sanchez and Martial, we'll see that. And I really don't want to see us fitting Lukaku in there. The thing is, who's going to pay the money for Romelu Lukaku? Who is going to pay the money for him? I don't know, but I actually hope there's some truth in it, because that was the next thing I wanted to talk about. Is I think that when you change a manager, it never should be where you change the manager and you stick with the previous squad. A new manager means new ideas, and whether Solskjaer gets the job long term, or Zidane or Pochettino, when they walk in the door, they shouldn't have to go, yeah, but I don't really like Lukaku as a striker. He's a good striker and his record's very good. He scored 27 goals last year. For his last few seasons, he's scored a lot of goals, but he's not really what I want in my number 9. And a new manager shouldn't have to put up with that. So I'd be very disappointed if over the next few months there aren't people going out the door, because that's what we need to do. But I think United's problem is, It's like I was talking about Fellaini at lunchtime on the preview for the Huddersfield game. You talk about Fellaini, he wouldn't be at the squad if it wasn't. He wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Jose Mourinho. He wasn't offered a contract. Nobody would give him a contract at United, and he couldn't get a contract elsewhere. So we ended up keeping him, begging him, because Mourinho publicly begged him to do it. And I think that's the situation with Lukaku. It's a Mourinho signing that we are sort of lumbered with. But I do think Lukaku must be given an opportunity, just like everybody else has been given. But do I long term see him being a Manchester United striker? No, I don't. I think those people who wanted him at the start probably don't follow football in the way that they should, because there was a few people, top Reds, Lukaku's a great striker, but there was a lot of people on the United stand, myself included, saying, I'll give Lukaku the benefit of the doubt. I like Lukaku. He comes across as a nice bloke, but the things that concerned me when we signed him are still facts now. He's slow in the way he builds the play up. He can't pass, and his first touch is, somewhere in Europe. It's not good, and that's not improved, and I don't think it will. But let's see if a more attacking manager can get more out of him, and I think they will do, because I still think that Matic needs to be moved out of the team, but he was 10 times better than we've seen for the last 8 months. So, we've got to give Lukaku that opportunity. But I want Rashford as number 9, as I said at lunchtime. And also, in fairness to Lukaku, if you're talking about levels, I think you can get more out of Lukaku where we want to be than Fellaini. I don't see what Fellaini offers what we want to do as a football team anymore. And exactly the same thing. Would Pep Guardiola, Pochettino or Klopp want Fellaini? No. They'd be like, what? To do what? Brush the floor? Sweep out the dressing room, wash the kit. I mean, and that's being horrible to Fellaini, it is, but I just don't see where he'd fit in. Sean Bordner says, I think Lukaku is a plan B. Having a power forward isn't a bad thing when we play teams who sit back and defend deep, but he has too much pride for that. And I think, Sean, you're absolutely spot on, because how would Lukaku, who is, in his own mind, one of the best strikers in the world, is he going to be happy to be on the bench? Like Rashford put up with it. Would Lukaku put up with it? I don't think he would. And maybe that's how we solve this problem. Maybe Lukaku comes knocking on the door and forces himself out. Please do drop a Christmas like on the video. We will be talking about that Arsenal Fan TV game. I'm only leaving it to the latter part of the video because I know some of you, like me, will be just like, I want to talk about United more than that bit of a pantomime, wasn't it? But Howard Walter says, sometimes think the striker days are dying. There are guys now that can score a lot in many other positions and contribute a lot more. Merry Christmas. Yes, I think, a lot of people talk about Anthony Martial being a number 9. I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to see the development of Thierry Henry. I knew about Thierry Henry when he was at Monaco. It didn't work out for him at Juventus. He came to Arsenal. Wenger did mould him, but I don't think he was even Martial's age now when he came to Arsenal, or he was very close to that age. So you look at what Thierry Henry did in his career up at Martial's age, and it wasn't a hell of a lot. So, and also, Thierry Henry did start on the wing for Arsenal and then went on to be probably one of the best strikers in the world. So Martial can do that, but I just think Martial's best position, I've seen Martial play up front, and I think Martial's best position is off the left anyway. And I don't, you know what, I think we are at that point now, and I'm really hoping that Ole Solskjaer sees this as well, because he's the one who's got Rashford's career in his hand. Whoever comes in the summer, they're going to inherit this United team 6 months down the line. If Solskjaer picks Marcus Rashford as his number 9 for 6 months, Marcus Rashford will always be United's number 9. If Solskjaer brings Lukaku back in and puts Rashford back to the bench, we've still got that question mark about why Rashford's not playing. If Rashford can if he picks Rashford, and I think he has to, He has to pick Rashford, stick with him, let him develop, and in 6 months' time when a new manager comes in, they're going to have to play Rashford. They can't go back to Lukaku. So I think that's massively important for United. And Martial, just keep picking him on the left. And Martial picks himself. He's a fantastic player. Ari Guadalia says, Mark, I wouldn't mind selling Sanchez and Lukaku and replace them with Greenwood and a proper young right winger. It's time to move forward, not backward. You know what, though, Ari? I think Alexis Sánchez is the player that excites me the most. It's almost a year to the day that we bought him. All right, it was the back end of January. I think Sanchez will be back at the start of January, but it's almost a year since we signed him. And I don't think we've ever signed Alexis Sánchez. I think when he comes back from this injury is the first time we get Alexis Sánchez. Now, maybe he will be what he was in all those crap games he gave us over the last year. But I've got a funny feeling in this sort of team, we're going to see what Sanchez is all about. Harsh reality check. He may well be a player in decline. He may well be a player that can't get back to what he was in his prime at Arsenal. And maybe that's what we bought. But I certainly don't think we'll see the player we saw under Mourinho, which is a player who's getting lost, who the movement is too slow. I think if you stuck Alexis Sanchez into that Cardiff performance at the weekend, he would have been as good as Lingard, as Martial. I think he would have loved that sort of game because it was fast, everyone was moving. And I think, you know, in some ways, Lukaku is a problem because you've got 3 positions and you've got, for me, 5 players, which is more than enough to cover those 3 positions between now and the summer. And then you've got people like Chong and Greenwood that we want to be given time. But in those 3 attacking positions where we had Lingard, Rashford and Martial, I see Sanchez and Mata as the backups. Not even the backups, as the rotations, as the players that can come in. I see Lukaku as 6th choice because Sanchez can play up front, he can play off the right, he can play off the left. Martial can play up front and off the left and off the right if a push. Lingard can play off the right and in the midfield. Rashford can play right, left or up front. Mata can play middle like Lingard or off the right and a push off the left. They cover all the positions. Lukaku can only really play as number 9. So I'm excited to see what we're going to get with Alexis Sánchez. I think it's a really interesting scenario with him coming back, and he's almost like a new signing because I think a lot of our players are like new signings, to be honest with you. I'm going to put up a video tomorrow. There will be a video going up on the United Stand tomorrow because we very rarely have a day where there is no content. It won't be a live video, but it's going to be a very interesting one. It's going to be about a question that's been asked quite a lot, and because it's Christmas, it's going to be Goldbridge's Christmas wish about Manchester United. It's going to be players that I want to go and players I'd like to bring in. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a spoiler, so make sure you watch it tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it going up. Mr. Glenn Johnson says, against the small teams, United could play in a 4-4-2 like the good old days. Lukaku and Rashford on top, Martial and Lingard, Alexi on the sides, Pogba and Herrera, Fred in the middle. Thoughts? I think, 4-4-2 in certain games, you're probably right. You could get away with it. But I like to judge Manchester United on the big games of football. And I think when you judge Manchester United on the big games of football, are we going to play 4-4-2? No, we're not. And I do think on the Lukaku situation, it will very much come down to if he isn't in the starting 11, which I wouldn't have him in, then what about is he going to be happy to be on the bench? And I actually do not think that he would be. So I think that sort of solves itself in many ways. But we'll see. I mean, you know what? I always believe in saying it how it is because that's what fan content should be. We're not shareholders. We're not people who've got to think about reputations. We're not people who've got to, the club have a very difficult job. They can't just come out and say what they think. We as fans can, and I think I look at it and think, well, you know what? Thanks, Ruth Myers says, Merry Christmas, Mark, to you and all your family, and Merry Christmas to you, Ruth, and Merry Christmas to everybody, of course. But I if you're asking me to make a decision, and I always will give you my honest opinion, and I know you lot will as well. If you're saying right, sell or buy Lukaku, sell. Yeah, I think I've seen enough, and I've seen enough before United. As I said, I know he's never going to be a number 9 like even a Harry Kane. Harry Kane can hold the ball up and he has got a passing range. He holds the ball up and he's got a passing range and he's got a first touch. You know, Harry Kane isn't as intricate as Lionel Messi by any means, but he has got the fundamentals of a footballer, of a number 9. He holds it up, he's got a good first touch, and he can feed people in around him. That's why Spurs score good goals. I've seen Lukaku at United, I've seen Lukaku at Everton, and he's never going to be that. He's never going to be that. And that, for me, is why I'll give him the time and the patience, because everybody deserves that. And as I said at the weekend, I thought Matic had a good game, even though I'm one of his biggest critics. But if you're asking me whether I'd move Lukaku on, I think yes. You know, it goes back to... I remember saying this last summer and last January. I've been saying it for over a year now. United need to be ruthless and aggressive. And in the transfer market and in who they're going to get rid of. I think we've been ruthless with Jose Mourinho. And I think we need to be aggressive with who we get in as a replacement. But I think that needs to be reflected across the squad as well. If Jose goes to Real Madrid, he might buy Fellaini and Lukaku. Well, let's hope he goes sooner rather than later. And Thierry Mainrick says, Merry Christmas, Mark. Thank you, Thierry. Really appreciate that. I mean, something we've not spoken about on this show, and I'm glad it's not like at the start of the show, because I think that would be wrong to do that. Please do drop a like on the video if you are new. And also subscribe. I know the subscriber number is in the wrong place there, but we're getting very, very close to 330,000. I'd love to hit that before the end of the year. So subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner, and please do drop us a like. But I'm going to try and keep a straight face because it's Christmas. And there is a GIF that I used to use on a Friday night, probably about over a year ago. And when United were playing at the weekend, I had a Jose Mourinho GIF where we scored a goal and he goes off down the tunnel with his hands in his air like that. And I saw I just came across the GIF by accident this afternoon. And you know what? It made me feel sad for the first time, because I remember on a Friday afternoon I used to quote that, heading out of work knowing Manchester United are playing at the weekend, and it was a GIF with Mourinho walking off like that. And I thought, you know what? It ended terribly badly, and it was a long goodbye. I predicted it would be a long goodbye, and it was. But there were moments of positivity there, and it just reminded me that, you know, it's so sad that it didn't work out. I've got no regrets. I mean, he had to go. He was warned more than enough. He never changed what he was meant to be as a Manchester United manager, and he got what he deserved. You know, absolutely blunt opinion, but it's true. But I did see that GIF and I felt a bit sad, because I thought, you know what, I would have given anything for him to have come into the club and done what he said he was going to do. Reignite his career, reignite Manchester United, be the real Mourinho, but also evolve the way he's going to play, development youth. He never ever did it. But there was a story in the week that I think it was Duncan Castles put out, that when Jose Mourinho was sacked last Tuesday, almost a week ago now, it's gone very, very fast. It's felt like a long week, hasn't it? He actually thought he was going in to talk about January transfer windows, and he got sacked. And I'm nearly laughing. When I read it, I laughed. I don't know why. I don't know whether there's a defence mechanism. Jose Mourinho goes into the office with Ed Woodward, thinks he's going to be talking about transfers in January, and walks out with the sack. But podcast fan says, Mark, where are you hearing that Depay is an option for us in January? I haven't been able to find it in any of the papers, inside sources. Thanks for that, pal. And I'll come back to you on that one. And Hayder Mungley says, Merry Christmas, Mark, and the United Standards. Mark, I dare you say Ed Woodward. I dare you to say Ed Woodward really quickly. Ed Woodward. Oh no, he wants me to say Edward Woodward. But podcast fan, the Memphis thing that I was talking about last night, that's something that I've been hearing about for quite a while, probably about 3 or 4 months. In fact, I've mentioned it a couple of times on the United Stand, that United are highly likely to bring Memphis Depay back to the club because we've got the first refusal option, and also he's now becoming one of the most sought after talents outside the big clubs, and a lot of people are looking at him, but United have got the buyback option. So United are going to have to make a decision about Memphis, and there is talk that the United could make that decision as early as January, which I think is the perfect time. I think when Memphis comes in, if Memphis comes back to Manchester United, he will have a lot of pressure on him. Because he's already been here and he's a bit of a big time Charlie, the way the media perceive him, unfairly or fairly, so that adds to it. So there will be a lot of pressure on him, but I think that do it in January if you're going to do it. But, you know, going back to what I was on about, Jose Mourinho sacked when he thought he was going in to talk about January transfer windows, and we heard that Mourinho was apparently stunned that he got the sack. D Easy Guy says Depay can F off. Been there, have the t-shirts. You see, some people will think that. But JJ, I'll go and have a look at that in a minute because I am live. But yeah, you know what? I mean, that's ruthless. That is ruthless. A manager goes in a week before Christmas thinking he's going to be talking about transfers in January and walks out with the sack. That's ruthless. And not in a bad way. That is a ruthless decision from the Manchester United board that we were all on board with. Most of us were on board with. And that's what we need to see with the playing staff. We need to see that reflected across the whole club, not just with the manager. Because you know what? If Mourinho walked out there shocked, why is he shocked? You know, you've just lost to Liverpool. You've got negative goal difference. You are 6th in the league. You are 20 points off the top. You're 11 points off 4th. You're Manchester United. Why would you be shocked if you got the sack? But we need that ruthlessness to reflect right across the team. I think it's really, really important that that happens. Right, let's have a little talk about this game that took place. I don't even remember when it was. October time. The United Stand played Arsenal Fan TV. They've got their own team that had played a number of weeks before us. The agreement for the game was quite difficult because they were meant to be playing channel regulars and they didn't. And we went down there and we beat them 3-1. I'm just reading a tweet here from somebody. Yeah, so, look, I don't need to talk about you-know-who, but apparently I'm a big fake. Right, okay. The reality is, the link is in the video description for the game. If you want to watch all of it, that's fine. But it's 17 minutes and 18 seconds where, basically, the Arsenal fan channel man, who is just such an ego, tries to nutmeg me. I tackle him, I'm basically leaving him for a sack of potatoes to plant himself because nobody else wants them, and he tries to foul me, and with one arm I roll him like Ramos rolls Salah. I roll him, and as I roll him he gets up quicker than me and he's basically on top of me, and I think he's going to do something, so I kick him away, I get him away, and then the ref takes us over the sides and yellow cards us. His head's gone, he loses the game, Rance scores a banger, Sophie does a lollipop over his head, and he ends up getting sent off. And the United Stand win. And we'd only met each other probably half an hour before that. We didn't even know each other's names. That's what happened in that game. The footage that's gone out today, I was never allowed to see it for 2 months. I was never allowed to see that incident that I've watched for the first time half an hour ago. Never allowed to see it. And I fell out with everybody involved in it, and I said, I don't even want that video going up. You won't show it me. The other guy from Arsenal Fan TV, who was involved, he's seen it. He has apparently been begging for clips to be taken out. If you watch the whole video, they show one clip of me actually playing the game, and it's a stray pass. There is a joke about my complexion, which, because I'm a white guy, it's all right to do that, isn't it? And that's from Terry, who's always having a pop at me, talking about my complexion. So the way that they've edited it was Rance's goal is from distance. Sophie's thing is just rushed past. But the reality is you can't deal with facts. We won the game 3-1. We turned up half an hour before. We won the game 3-1. I get embroiled in this nonsense. It's a bloody pantomime. I didn't even notice the cameras. I haven't played proper football for 10 years, but when I did play football, I played at a very, very good level. When I play football, I do my talking on the pitch. Before that game, my daughter's ball, which we were playing with, was blasted into a field that I could never get back by Mr. Petulance. He was gobbing off, he was doing videos that have all been deleted. I never said anything. That's why I was in my cave, apparently, because I was just going down to play a game of football. But when people start gobbing off, I've played football enough in my life, I'll sort it out on the pitch. And that's what I said afterwards. Gob off and then moan because you got one in the nuts on the pitch. Did I get sent off? No, I didn't. Because I've been playing football long enough, I'll do you on the pitch and the ref won't know anything about it. And I will keep my mouth shut on the pitch. I don't need to swear. I just stood there, took the yellow card, and in my head I'm like, he's gone. He's gone. Just keep smiling at him, and he's gone. And we won the game. And that's what it's all about. I don't need this pantomime. All I'm bothered about is the community that we're building on the United Stand. And if he thinks he's getting a rematch, or anybody, after the way they've edited that video, up yours. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. So you can talk about your pantomime and you're playing for views and all this, that and the other. It's all a load of nonsense. There will be no rematch. I will happily play Redmen TV, another Arsenal fan channel, but I will never, ever, ever, ever give them a rematch because the way they've edited it and the bollocks I've had about my private life, no, I'm not having it. Forget it. So there's your pantomime villain. That it happened. He tried to nutmeg me. Look, he ain't going to nutmeg me when I'm in the coffin. So don't try and do it when I'm actually still breathing. Nick the ball off him, tries to foul me, gets rolled over, and then gets up to try and give me one. And I've had people stamp on me on a football pitch before, so I made sure I got in there first. Then I get up and I take the yellow card. It's bloody football. If you want to run around, start swearing and acting like a big kid, there's things that went on that aren't in that video that we, because we are a class fan channel, none of us have mentioned. But there are things that are not in that video that are being kept out because it will make certain people look very, very bad, look worse than they do now. So professionalism. But if you want to watch it, I enjoyed the game. It was 3-1. It was 3-1. That's the end of it. But I think also it's a bit sad that something like that comes out on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, you know, a time of goodwill, a time where everybody is meant to be relaxing with their families and stuff. And they put that out on everyone's Christmas Eve. So I have to start putting up with all this nonsense again. But there you go. That's what happens. That's why I've kept it to the end. Because to be honest with you, there'll be no rematch. The person involved is blocked off my social media because I've had enough of the vile messages I get. And I ain't getting involved in whatever it is going to be. We came, we saw, we conquered, and the facts are there. And they can edit, they can show my one crap pass instead of everything else I did, all the tackles, all the sweeping up, just show a crap pass. They can try and twist whatever they bloody well like, but the reality is you can't twist the score and you can't twist the facts. And if that's what we're dealing with, good night Vienna, I ain't interested anymore. 3-1, and it's always going to be 3-1. There'll be no rematch. Anyway, you lot are what it's all about. I'm only interested in you. And I hope from the bottom of my heart that you will have a fantastic Christmas. Wherever you are. You may not celebrate Christmas, but whatever you're doing, I hope you have a fantastic Christmas. I absolutely adore what we've got. I absolutely do. I'm not going to say I love you all because that's a bit fake, but I absolutely adore what we've built over the last 3.5 years. And I look forward to having a nice Christmas time. I'm looking forward to the Boxing Day. We'll be doing the fan cams, we'll be doing the watch along and everything like that. And we've got a video for you tomorrow. But to be honest with you, I've always spent my time looking in. And this is why you get idiots going, oh, Goldbridge is in his cave instead of giving us footage about what's going to happen on a football pitch. I ain't in my cave. I'm focused on what is important to me. And that is the United Stand. And that is what we've built. And that's what I'll always be focused on. And, you know, we've got a fantastic community. You're all part of it. And I wish you all peace and goodwill. And that is what this time of year is about. And I'm pretty annoyed to get embroiled in all this nonsense again on an evening like this, which is why I've kept it till the end, and now I do feel a bit pumped up about it. But you can watch it. The link's in the video description, because you know what? For all the clever editing, 3-1 is all that matters. And the actual clip, as I say, roll him over with one arm, and when he comes at me, he gets one in the nuts. And I'll do that to anybody. It's nothing to do with him. You know, if you stand over me, I've been kicked in the head when I've been on the floor, on the pitch and off the pitch. I ain't gonna hesitate. As my granddad says, when you've got something bearing down on you, don't wait to see if they're going to do it. You don't wait, because that can cost you. Anyway, Ryan Beale says, such and such is calling you a fake. He says the guy that edits what happened in the video because they acted like a complete moron with no class. He says that the guy that edits what happened in the video because they acted like, oh, damn. Look, all he wants is you lot to go and start having a look at what he's on about. That chapter's over. Redundant. There is no rematch. You've been beat. Shut up. Go and have a match against somebody else. We'll go and have a match against somebody else next year. That's it. End of story. Thanks, everyone. Merry Christmas. Keep your eye out for the video tomorrow. And then Boxing Day, we're back, aren't we? We're back on it. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Speak to you all soon.